Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Advent Member Talks. My name is Sam. My pronouns are they, them, and I am the Member Experience Manager here at Advent Co-working, a creative co-working community, art gallery, event space, podcast studio, wellness center, all of the things, but most importantly, a community. And we love this weekly event that we put on. Each week features a different member on the topic of their choosing. And it gives us a really great opportunity to promote our members and have our members share, their skills not only with the Advent community, but also with the greater Charlotte entrepreneurial community. So I am super excited to have Sherre back with us today. She has a very important topic that I'm sure all of us are just trying to figure out constantly. Like, what is strategy, really? So she's going to be guiding us through some lessons in agility throughout COVID. So if you have any questions for Sherre, just type those into the comments and we'll do some Q&A at the end. So Sherre, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate it. You know, when Sam and I were talking about what would be a great topic, the one thing that has just been top of mind for me is just what's happened over these past 12 months. Okay, you know, a year ago, we had no idea what our whole entrepreneurial world had in store for us, as we had to navigate in ways that maybe we never even imagined we would have to navigate as companies and as business owners. And so what I've noticed and what I've realized that's very exciting to me is that some of the principles and the best practices that I've documented over 36 years of working with entrepreneurs, being an entrepreneur myself, was truly validated over these past 12 months in COVID and the pandemic's wrath. And so I'm going to share, one thing I'm going to share is the reality that, and this is sometimes a tough pill to swallow for some people when I say this, but whenever there is like the Great Recession of 2008 to 2010, when there was the economic downturn that happened after 9/11. And then now, we have this global situation that happened that really forced businesses to take a deeper look at what they were doing and how they were doing it. I think what needs to be emphasized there is that businesses were forced to take a look at how they were operating. And some of the reasons that some businesses couldn't navigate this storm is because there were things that they weren't doing that they should have been focusing on. And that's what strategy is all about. Strategy is being able to potentially anticipate the unexpected. And even if you don't know what that unexpected is, you are leveraging your ability to shift. The big word of 2020 was pivot, to shift in ways that continues to help your business not just survive but thrive. And so there were several things that I've noticed and I've paid attention to that I wanted to share in this 20 minutes we have together. And I kind of made a list, and I'm going to use this model as kind of a base of reference. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen, and hopefully everyone can see this. And Sam, can you confirm that you can see that?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Make sure this isn't in the way. Okay, so what I've got here is what I call the economic vitality model. And so first I want to explain it. How it works with any company, and why it became so profoundly important over this past 12 months for businesses that understood intelligence quotient emotional quotient of the company, velocity quotient of a company, and then the profitability quotient of a company. And so most businesses start in what I call the intelligence quotient. All right. So most businesses start because there is a competency by the business owner in delivering or providing whatever that offering is. Or there is experience and expertise to offer what the business offers. Where a lot of businesses get stuck in the intelligence quotient aspect is because of the other aspects of intelligent quotient. And that's exactly why I have this dashed line around the IQ of this model, because a good majority of businesses never get out of the IQ. And so why is that? Why aren't businesses, what aren't they doing? What aren't you doing? And so part of it is and you'll see kind of the cheat sheet over here of what's really critical. You have a high intelligence quotient in your company if you, as a business owner, if not only do you have a competency to deliver and you have experience and expertise to deliver that competency, but you also have the ability to analyze business complexities. So because there is the expertise and experience that is specific to your offering, but then there is the expertise and experience at marketing, at finance and accounting, at other aspects, depending on what kind of business you're in, technology, and so all of these other aspects of being able to analyze the complexities of operating and running a business, as well as complexities within your industry. You know, whether if you have compliance issues that you have to deal with, regulatory issues you have to deal with, all of those things fall into that intelligence quotient aspect. The other aspect is competitive intelligence and being able to position yourself in a way that creates preference. And that gets at strategy, being strategically preferred and in demand over others. The other aspect of intelligence quotient is around intellectual property and having something proprietary to your business. And businesses that understand that, what's really exciting about that aspect of is with intellectual property and proprietary holdings, then when the market gets tight, when people are getting more selective about who they're going to determine to do business with, you know, you create a preference or you create a way that nobody else has this way of being. And as a result, you're preferred over somebody else. And so this all boils down to your ability to be strategic. Now, the way this model works is what I call in a zigzag effect of effectiveness with a business. So you start at the IQ level and then you go up to and leverage the EQ of the business. Now, everyone's heard intelligence quotient from an individual, from a person standpoint. Everyone's heard of emotional quotient from an individual, you know, somebody having a high EQ, having an ability to relate to people and sense their needs and all that from well, guess what? A company has an EQ as well. And what I talk about and what the EQ of a company is the corporate culture. I've been doing research for years, quantifying the value of a corporate culture as it relates to market perception of value of a company. And you think of any company that has created this amazing culture, almost cult following, you know, they understand that emotional quotient value as an enterprise of creating, again, that preference and that belief that there's something even greater than what the company is doing. And so that gets at kind of a shared purpose, passion that everyone shares within, inside and outside of the company. So, you know, I'll get people that'll push back and say, well, Well, I'm just a sole, owner. I'm a startup business. But the emotional quotient isn't just with your customers or with your employees or team members. It's with your subcontractors. It's all different types of relationships that you are engaged in, that you're nurturing, that you're developing, that you're cultivating. And so a company that has a very high EQ, I already mentioned the corporate culture. Then there's this sense, everyone in the company, inside and out, contractors, team members, you name it. There's a real sense of value in their roles. They're valued for the roles they provide, in the services they provide, the skill sets they provide, the talents they provide, and they feel a great sense of value and worth in the difference the company is making. So it's a real purpose-driven, passion-driven aspect of the company, and engagement, a high level of engagement and interaction and collaboration. And so when you look at what was happening over this past 12 months in companies that were able to be more agile, and maybe it was because they were really engaging with everybody in their company, keeping them informed, being very interactive, being very collaborative, figuring out ways, getting feedback and figuring out ways to address the changes that they are being forced to make in a way that will be valued by who they're serving, and who they ultimately want to continue to serve. And so what's interesting about the IQ and the EQ is that you have to dip back into that IQ and possibly do some research and analysis as to, okay, how do we, what are some ideas? What are some ways that we need to better serve our market? And so that gets at the velocity quotient. So once you engage your EQ, get communication and insights and feedback from customers, from team members, from the industry as a whole, to really understand where the opportunities are. And then you can work collectively to determine the best way to get things done, to respond, to take action. And so that's what the velocity quotient is. And you really can't take that velocity quotient of your ability to respond, take action, anticipate, and get things done internally, to have these, what I like to call momentum building decisions that you can make in spite of maybe having to totally shift a focus where you were before, because you can't, because of circumstances beyond your control. You have to look at what you can control. And so your ability to be proactive and forward thinking, paying attention to what's happening. Some of the other research that I've done is around attraction and retention, and what people really want in this day and age. And that is, how easy is it to do business with you? And all of a sudden, with everything that happened over these last 12 months, businesses were forced to go virtual with so many aspects of what they did. And one of the things I talk about all the time, from an ability to have a high velocity quotient when it comes to being a company of true economic vitality that can overcome any kind of obstacle that's thrown at it, is that you're actually leveraging 4 different resources in your company. And what those resources are, money, of course, is one, but most businesses don't leverage the time, how time is spent in the company, from the business owner's time to all team members' time to time, and then that gets at, okay, other people. So another resource is other people. And so you have the resource of time and the resource of other people, and how you can leverage those two aspects. And then probably the most profound resource that a lot of businesses had to pay very close attention to was technology. And how are you leveraging technology in your business so that you can make it easier to do business with you, make things more efficient and effective in how you do business? And so businesses that understood all four of those resources, time, people, technology, and money, were in a better place, a much better and a proactive place to be able to take their technology to another level, to engage with an app so they could deliver when it used to be everyone had to come to them to get whatever they were offering. And so how are you as a business owner really looking at your people, your time, your technology, along with where you're putting your money? And so that gets at the profitability quotient. Now, what's really important about this model is you can have a high IQ, a high EQ, and a high PQ. And you can even have high profits. I mean, a very high profit margin. And so you can just feel like, oh, I've got the world, you know, I've got the bull by the horns. I've got it all going on. But having high profits does not equal having a high profitability quotient. And I think this was probably the biggest aha I've had over these 12 months. Having a high profitability quotient in a business is, on an ongoing basis, allocating the income that you have coming into your business in 4 different ways. So you have a certain percentage of profits that are always shared. And shared is everything. It's not just, you know, giving yourself a big paycheck. Shared means, you know, how well you pay your employees. Okay. Sharing, making a difference in the community. Okay. Benefits are a way that you share your profits. Yes, it's also, you know, an expense line item and all of that. But again, how are you, you know, spreading the wealth, so to speak, and the value to everyone that you have and you want to maintain that high EQ with? You know, how are you doing that? The other way you need to allocate is to be continually reinvesting a percentage of your profits in your company. And what I mean by reinvesting, that could be expanding capacity, hiring, equipment that you might need, training that you might need, you know, image building and marketing and those things, you know, technology investments that you might need. So always looking at a percentage of those profits going towards reinvesting in your company's capacity to conserve and to continue to grow. Then the third area that profits need to be is in value building. One of my biggest passions is helping business owners build value in their company, not just build a company that's profitable, but build a company that could continue to thrive well beyond them because it's that valuable. Somebody that, you know, wants to buy it, somebody wants to invest in it. And there are things you need to do as a business owner to continue to build value in your company in a multitude of ways. Everything from leadership succession, so being able to, so you know, the velocity quotient of replicable success, so the company can run without you. Corporate culture, I actually put in the value building aspect too, being viewed from an image standpoint, the intellectual property, investing in, protecting what makes you unique. All of these things are a part of value building. And then the fourth bucket that your profits need to go into is profits in reserve. And what I have found, and that's, you know, that's the cushion. We've all, you know, heard you should have like 3 to 6 months worth of operating expenses. Ultimately, that should be your goal. Interestingly enough, in all the work I've done, that has been raised to about 9 to 12 months worth of operating expenses. And so why am I sharing this, and why is this so important? Because when when the what hit the fan, and businesses were literally shut down, as we all know, the companies that understood what a high PQ was, they had money in reserve. They had money set aside to reinvest. And in this particular case, they may have had to even shift where they reinvest, but they had the money set aside to do that. They had the money set aside to, because it was in reserve, to continue to pay their people and try to do other things while they were trying to ramp up to be able to do some type of business while they were shut down. Being able to offer things on the internet, being able to do curbside or whatever it is that they were having to look at the alternatives. And so the other aspect of being strategic is being diversified enough in your offerings and where they're going to, that not all your eggs are in one basket. And so what we found is, through the ability to be very strategic, you're more likely to have several income streams, so that then you're going to see which ones are more likely to be embraced and which ones are not. So I know we only had like 20 minutes, and so this was a very deep dive. But the other thing that's really important about this economic vitality model is it's a continuous zag. So a continuous zig and a continuous zag. You go from IQ to EQ to VQ, and then as you have those profits in those 4 buckets, you're going to dip down where you need to constantly access your IQ and get input from your EQ, so that you can continuously take your velocity quotient to that next level, and all while looking at ways to be efficient and effective, so that you have the profits to allocate in those 4 ways. So I know I did a crash course, but I would love some questions around it. And so that's why the formula for success is IQ plus EQ plus VQ times PQ is economic vitality.
Yeah, Sherre, I feel like I just attended a like 300 business class, like as a freshman. This graph, I'm just like, wow.
But I have to tell you, this is so exciting for me to see. There are businesses that have, just had one of their best years, and they would have never believed that at the beginning of the COVID situation. But it was because they leveraged those 4 reasons. And boy, technology was a big one this past year, wasn't it? Didn't matter what business you were in, you had better had your technology game ramped up. And so it's really forced businesses to pay attention to some of the basic things I'm talking about here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually have quite a few questions.
Yes, good. Yay.
So, out of these 4, is there one that you find companies struggling with the most, or perhaps like even just kind of tend to forget about?
Okay. Quite frankly, it's the IQ. I believe, one of my bodacious vision is that we can have 100% business success. What a bodacious vision, that every business that got started could be successful, right? Well, the reason, you have 50% of companies that don't make it in the first few years, and an even higher percentage that don't make it past 5 years. It's because of the most business owners know their widget, know their service, know their expertise, but they don't understand the other the other aspects of running and growing and building a business. And so that's what gets business owners in trouble more than anything else. And then not understand. So it really starts in that IQ. If you're not willing to take the time to do competitive intelligence on an ongoing basis, if you're not willing to understand business complexities, even things that you don't think I bet you there are so many things that businesses are doing now that they never thought they'd ever do, because they just assume that's not something our industry needs to worry about. That's not something my type of business needs to worry about. And so part of business complexities is also paying attention to trends and paying attention to opportunities, because let me tell you, some of the stuff that's now becoming commonplace, I'm hearing all over the place, people that are never going to step into a grocery store again. They're just going to Instacart their groceries now. And they would have never done that before this situation, right? And so, you know, so paying attention. I mean, I have a longtime friend, John Dressler with Dressler Restaurants, and he says it doesn't cost anything to pay attention. It doesn't.
True. What's one thing that a business owner can do to, like, today to improve their VQ?
Okay, to improve their VQ, I think probably one of the biggest things they can do is really take a look at how you can replicate success. You know, from a standards of operation standpoint, you know, how can you create systems? I'm a big believer that anything that gets done more than once, there's a process, there's a template, there is something that can be done that makes it easier for somebody else to do in your company. You know, one of the things that I've had a great success with interns coming into my business, and they're profitable from the day they start. And it's because I processed and procedured everything. And so how can you, and then what that does is it makes it easier to bring somebody in, to train them, to get them running, you know, not just walking and starting. I don't believe that there should be this learning curve time in a company. If you have really good processes and procedures, anyone can come on board and they can be productive immediately. And so taking a look at your processes, your systems, what you can make replicable with internally, so everyone can do it more effectively. That's probably the first place to start.
That's great. So just kind of this last question, which is really, I feel like hits home for so many companies. I mean, many companies are in debt, you know, repaying government loans due to COVID. So how can you improve your your PQ, you know, when profits need to be redirected to loan repayments?
Oh, you know, that is where it can get challenging, because I've heard the question, well, you know, I'd like to have profits I can allocate in 4 ways. I hear that all the time. But here's the thing. No matter how many, it's not about having high profits. It's about how you allocate profits. All right. And so if, you know, as you're trying to improve your profits, you always have to look at these 4 buckets and how you are reinvesting in your company, how you can build value, how you can share your profits. And so even if you have a small profit margin right now, you should still be allocating in those 4 ways. And then it'll continue to grow and it'll continue to grow. But what it does is it forces you, okay, to look at, okay, I have this small percentage that I can use to reinvest in my company. What is something I can do within this small budget that will help take, and it could be like investing in a piece of software. I don't know what it might be, but what is something small I can do? What is what I call conscientious action nurtures desired outcome? You know, sometimes it's those small steps you take that create the big leap. But if you're not making a conscious effort in all 4 of those areas, then you're always going to feel like you're playing catch up and you can't get caught up.
Absolutely. Can you say that quote again? That was like beautiful.
Oh, okay. Which quote?
The conscience. Oh my God.
Oh, yes. That's actually an acronym, CANDO, CANDO. And so CANDO stands for conscientious action nurtures desired outcome.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for this like crash course. Like,
well, and being strategic is being having a high consciousness of, you know, being very conscientious. So, you know, that is part of being strategic too.
Absolutely. So how can folks get the next course from you? How can they connect?
Well, I will share. I take a lot of pride in helping businesses, and I'm a guest instructor for like 3 virtual courses that are going to happen through the small business centers, and so if they want to like go to, I'll try to share them in the Advent community because they're actually funded by the Small Business Center Network, so they're free for the public. The SBA pays me, not not you guys. And so I love doing that because then you can get, I think there's one on networking, there's one on understanding the difference between investments and expenses, which every business owner needs to understand. So that would be a really good one for the Advent community to take advantage of. I think that's March 10th. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you send me those, yeah, please post those on the community board.
okay, I will.
I'll add them to the description when we upload the video to our YouTube channel.
Okay.
So for everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to look back at previous member talks, our YouTube channel is Advent Co-working Videos. We have so many amazing members, and if you're a member watching, we would love to have you present. We'd love to learn some skills and things from you. So thank you again, Sherre.
Thank you. And it's so wonderful you do this for the members. You guys are great.
Oh,
you've got the EQ going. You really do.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, thank you, y'all. Have a great evening. I hope that we'll see you tomorrow evening for our signature event, F Up, Level Up. Ohavia is a host, and we have a lineup of really great panelists. So check out our events calendar. Always a lot of fun stuff going on. And yeah, have a good evening.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.